Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories.
Case file number 1219, written by surlycur. I forgot how to walk upstairs? One night, when I was about 16 years old, I'd finally decided to get off my computer and go to bed, around 2 a.m. If memory serves me correctly, at the time, my family and I lived in a decently sized 2-story house. The staircase to the second floor was pretty basic. Head up a few steps, turn on a landing halfway up, traverse the remaining few steps, and at the top, you're only a couple footfalls from my bedroom door. Someone please explain to me then how I got lost on this freaking staircase. Sure, it was dark, but even then, you'd have to be a special kind of stupid to not know how to walk up these stairs after you've done it already 1,000 times before. Just keep one hand on the railing and you don't need to use your eyes. I swear that as soon as I reached the landing, I spent 10 minutes just continually walking upwards. Realistically, it only takes someone 5 to 7 seconds to walk up these stairs, 3 if they're running or skipping steps. I realized I'd been walking for much longer than that, stopped, and immediately felt uneasy. I'd walked up those stairs in pitch black darkness so many times before, but even with my hand on the railing, I was getting nowhere, just endlessly walking upwards. My freaking skin crawled. If my brother hadn't turned on the upstairs hallway light, I'm not sure I would have made it to my bedroom. My brother blinked sleepily at me and asked if I was okay, and all I could say was, I legitimately have no idea. I told him the next day what had happened, and he told me that the reason he'd come out of his room in the first place was because he'd heard footsteps on the stairs for several minutes. What the hell, man? What was that? I wasn't so tired that I just mindlessly walked up and down the stairs for a while in the same spot. I was completely awake, and not once did I suddenly feel like I'd turned around to walk back downstairs at any time. I still get chills thinking about it. I've actually learned a few things about the fickleness of the human brain as well. You know, assuming this wasn't in fact the otherworldly work of some craphead fairy.
Case notes of file 1219. I forgot how to walk upstairs? This strikes me as an induced hallucination. Think of a VR treadmill game where the treadmill is stationary, but the simulation around you gives the impression of movement. Somehow, something, or perhaps the simulation itself, the system itself glitched out, and your brain was convinced that it was moving up the stairs when in reality you were just walking in place for several minutes in the same spot, the same stair. I think this is proven given how your brother heard you walking or something walking for minutes on end up the stairs. Well, up the stairs again, just walking on the same step multiple times. Was there an error in the code preventing your brain from processing that reality? The real reality? I don't think there was a ghost or entity involved in this. I think it was a pure system glitch. Just your brain fuzzing out because the system wasn't inputting the correct code or processing it correctly.
Bonus file written by www.HttpCom. No one was in my bed. Okay, so when I was little, my dad would sometimes sleep with me in my bed. No weird stuff or anything. Sometimes me or my sister would be scared because we saw some horror movie or whatever, and we would go to sleep to my parents' bed. But as we grew up, it became more annoying, especially for my mom, who would always end up in the middle between my dad and whether it was my sister or me, or both. So then instead, my dad would sleep with me. This stopped at probably age 10, which was when my grandfather passed away. But move forward to age 14 or 13, and one Saturday, we all went to sleep, but my dad stayed awake drinking some beers and listening to his old vinyls. I wake up in the middle of the night, maybe early morning, I don't know, and I feel trapped between my blankets and this body I feel next to me, way heavier than me, covered with the blankets, and I'm trapped between that body and the wall, so I really can't move a lot or pull the blanket or anything. I didn't really think anything of it. I knew it was my dad. I recognized his presence. But I did find it weird that he would sleep in my bed, especially after so many years since the last time. But I thought maybe he drank too much and didn't know where he was going, or my mom kicked him out of the room, or I don't know, I just went back to sleep. Nothing too big a deal. In the morning, I woke up and he was still there sleeping under the blankets, or so I thought. I could feel the weight, especially since I used to be very skinny back then, so I could feel his weight in the mattress and the volume under the blankets, and could even hear his breathing, which is almost snoring, and feel his heat. Since I couldn't jump over him and didn't want to wake him up, knowing he had stayed up until late, I slipped in the direction of the footer of the bed, stood up, and checked back to see if I hadn't wakened him. I go downstairs, and as I approach the kitchen, I see my mom and my dad, who was preparing a cup of coffee. I felt like my stomach fell to the floor. I immediately ran back upstairs to my room, and now there's nothing on my bed. No body, not even the blankets kind of pulled up like when you wake up and push everything to the side. No, they were completely flat. Just my side of the blankets was lifted, the one next to the wall. I was literally in tears, trying to understand what happened, because I could understand that in the middle of the night I could have dreamed or imagined that someone was there and I was still half asleep. But in the morning, I was completely awake, and I did all this circus to slip through the footer of the bed to not wake him up, still feeling his weight and his breathing. I even stood up and looked again, and the blankets weren't flat. There was definitely a body under those blankets. I do admit, I never actually saw a part of his body, but it was winter and he always covers himself from head to toe, and that's exactly what I saw, someone covered from head to toes. I was so scared, but I couldn't dare to ask him or tell my parents what just happened, because if he told me that he didn't sleep in my room, I would have freaked out. So at first I decided to just pretend it was him and he just woke up before me, and he left the mark of his body under the blankets. But then as years went by, it made less and less sense, so I just decided to forget about it. Many years later, I walked into their room and saw him sleeping like this, covered from head to toes, and unlocked the memory. So I often think about it now. I crush all the blankets I have to see if I can recreate it, but no, there's no way I can make it seem like there's a real body under the blankets. These are very heavy blankets for the winter.
Case notes for the bonus file. No one was in my bed. So when a soul is projected outward, it manifests as a solid being, or it can, including weight, breath, everything, even body heat. You weren't dealing with a tiny sliver of a soul like a spirit. No, this was a full-fledged spirit walk on your dad's part. Well, a spirit sleep, I guess. Pretty remarkable. I wonder why that would happen, that the spirit would jump to just to be near you maybe? Or was it just that your dad was very tired and that manifested in the soul itself? I do think it has something to do with a weight on your dad's soul. Basically, the sleeping was just a manifestation of how tired and heavy his life was, is my guess. And also a desire to be around you. I think being around his children definitely soothes him, which makes sense, but it's very sweet. And now time for the quote of the day. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, it's a habit. Aristotle. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this in terms of my own life path and what I've chosen to do. Reading stories and thinking about them, delving into the world, or anything else that I might do, and even things as hobbies. And anything that we choose to do. You know how they say, you need 10,000 hours to master any given activity or subject? I don't think, well, maybe you need 10,000 hours to do that, but I don't think it's required to reach a level of mastery. I think if you want to do something professionally, you just need to be better than most people. And to do that, you probably only need a few hundred hours, maybe 1,000 or something. So my advice to people who are looking to break into something new, you have the mold of going to school and all that, and that's fine. School can be very useful for certain subjects especially, but with the repertoire of knowledge we have with the internet now, and so many people who are experts in fields already, willing to teach people for free on YouTube and other sites, I think there's a lot of opportunity. If there's something you can practice that you like, that you can get your hands on and try out, well, do it. Don't make excuses. The easiest thing to do is decide to do it tomorrow. Decide to do it today. right now after this video. Go paint if you want to. Go draw if you want to. Go smith a sword if you can. People like smithing. They go take a shop. You can take a course. Maybe it's not free, but it's not too expensive. And then you get some hands-on experience. You learn if you actually enjoy it. You learn if you have innate talent or if you really want to hone it. And there you go. You are what you do. So even if you're not the best in the world, that's okay. I think that's the other side of things, where social media now is making people think that they have to be the best in the world to matter. But that's just ridiculous. You don't have to be the best in the world, not even close. You just have to have a modicum of competence. And that can be achieved with a relatively small amount of time. You don't need 10,000 hours to be worth something. It's not how it goes at all. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.